So let's talk about the national debt and why the national debt is in the predicament that we're in. Now, as you see, the national debt goes up anywhere from 1 trillion to maybe 2 or 3 trillion a year. So give or take 1 to 3 trillion dollars is how much the national debt increases per year. But as you see, the life expectancy in the 1900s was 48.3. That has increased dramatically over the years. It's currently sitting over 80 years old. So yeah, old people are not dying. They're living longer. They worked less years too. Retirement was younger. They also pay less money for Social Security, etc. So they put less money in. They worked less years. And now they're living longer, which means they did less work and put less in, but now they need more, especially with inflation, etc. So the old people that were working didn't do their part to cover their own asses when they retired. Now, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, the money's going to welfare. Welfare spends $744 billion. That's public welfare from general spending. That is everything. Food stamps, housing, programs for the homeless, programs within communities. That $744 billion is all of that. Let me show you something. This is how much the U.S. government spends on their own pensions. $9.32 trillion with a budget at $5.85 trillion, a guesstimate $2.36 trillion, and another guesstimate $2.32 trillion locally. So the government spends an astronomical amount of money on their own pensions. Probably enough money to feed all the poor in our country and all the poor in probably most of the other countries as well. So we spend more money on government officials' pensions, and by more money, I mean 10, 20 times as much as we do on the poor. That should be a problem for you. But remember the part where I said the old people didn't pull their weight? 2.9 trillion has to cover for them. For the record, that's more than 3 times as much as we spend on the poor. We are giving to the old people who are living longer and did not pull their weight. It gets better. They would love for you to believe that they spend a bunch of the money on the military, but they spend about the same money on the military as they do on the poor. So the question is, how are you spending more money on government pensions than the military, all the poor, and all the retirement funds? But even during COVID, when the health sector, which is the blue right there, got absolutely humongous, Social Security, that red square, red part of the circle, whatever, is almost the same size. They actually shrunk the military because the old people still not pulling their weight. The problem is the same opinionated people in our country that want to give their wisdom had their opportunity to make this a great place. And they fucked it up with racism, Jim Crow laws, and a national debt that has climbed multiple wars, etc. They've ruined this country. They're not the people we need to be looking to save it. Now they're living longer, so their voice is being heard longer. They're still out here voting in elections. They're out here in our political offices. And they're sapping gigantic portions of the income in this country. There is no reason why we should be paying 4 or 5 times the same amount for Social Security. What were y'all doing? And since y'all messed up so bad and we have to pay that, because we can't just not pay it. We have to pay that. Since y'all messed up so bad, shut up. Your opinion is unneeded. Your views are unneeded. Your leadership is for sure unneeded. You didn't even plan for the future. There's a story. It's a very famous story about this grasshopper that plays around. And there's like these ants that are saving food for the winter. And it's like a famous Christmas story. And the grasshopper's about to die because wintertime, he didn't save no food. So he's trying to get in with the ants so he can eat, and they don't want to let him in. And then finally the ants let him in so that he doesn't die, but he has to learn his lesson out in the cold. Basically, it's a story that's explaining that you have to prepare for the future, prepare for what's to come. They didn't do that. So why are they leading our country right now? There's no reason that the military, the whole military, is getting the same amount of money that we're giving to poor people in this country. And there's damn sure no reason why government pensions should be 5-10 times higher than what we supply for poverty. If you don't think something's wrong with that, then you got life messed up. Your tax money, the money that actually take out your check, is not going to people on welfare. And I'm so tired of hearing people say that. You sound like an uneducated fool when you say things like that. You sound like an idiot. Less than 1% of your taxes are going to the poor. Your state taxes, those are going to schools, police, firemen, city renovations, which don't seem to happen, and these astronomical checks that government officials get to sit up there and lie to us and stay in office forever. These old men that are in positions of leadership that should not be there, that are running our country into the ground. Those people need to go. There need to be terms. A lot of these people need to get out of office. That just is what it is. But at the end of the day, know where your money's going. Know that the government doesn't care about you. And know that the people that are older than us, those in their 70s and 80s, and they're not smarter than you. They don't have more wisdom than you. The majority of them grew up in a racist, ignorant, uneducated environment. Most of them can't even work an iPhone. Why are you taking advice from a person who can't even work an iPhone? They are uneducated. Now, that's not to say there's some geniuses that are older men and over level. We're talking about the majority here, the 99% of the rest of the people that are outside of that box. They grew up in a world of ignorance and they embraced it and they did not prepare for the future. Your tax money's going to them. And your tax money's going to government pensions. It's where the majority of your money's going. Pay attention to what's going on around you. We are not free. Because if we were free, we'd be able to choose where our money goes. And we can't.